Hello everyone and welcome back to another crazy but educational video. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Guys, we just started a Patreon and can use some help over there. Please feel free to check it out. We are also working on getting a channel shop up and running, which will have all kinds of cool t-shirts, coffee mugs, and more for a price that no one can afford. Now, we're just kidding. This shop will be a little unique compared to most channels. We are working on getting only the best prices for you guys. We are not trying to make a killing. We are only trying to keep the channel going. Now, before I bore you guys anymore, let's dive into today's video. As many of you all know, Barbra Bush recently passed away at the wonderful age of 92. But how many of you know the real Barbra Bush and know her history before she became a Bush? Well, if you didn't know who her real father was, I'm about to make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Many of you will say, oh yeah, Marvin Pierce, right? Wrong. In fact, go back and take a look at Marvin and you may come to the conclusion that the two look nothing alike. The man I'm about to reveal to you as Barbra Bush's known father has held the title as the most wickedest man in the world, and in fact they look so much alike they could have been twins. Now, before you call me a tinfoil hat crazy man, I actually have some solid proof to back up such a claim. Yes, my friends, I might not be so crazy after all. Before I show you this short clip, I want to show you a picture of Mr. Satan himself, just in case you fell and hit your head since then. You be the judge. If for any reason you don't know who this evil man is, this is none other than the infamous Aleister Crowley. Now, many of you will say, no, I just can't believe it. That's sweet old lady Aleister Crowley's daughter. Put it this way, folks. If I had no idea who Aleister Crowley or Barbra was, and someone put a gun to my head, showed me a picture, and said, pick the right one and you live, you bet your ass I'm betting on Crowley. Let me remind you that the Bush family are no more evil than the Nazis from World War II, and George Bush Sr. joined the Skull and Bones Club when he was attending Yale University. Now, I will save the details of the Skull and Bones for another video. But just to give you some insight, these freaks lay in a coffin and have to masturbate in front of everyone, screaming something along the lines of, take the plunger out of my ass. Think I'm joking? The so-called Supreme College of the World Yale wrote a paper exposing their own rituals and can be found with a simple Google search. Yes, these are the freaks running your country.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people. And neither do we.
It is a great honor for these devils to be a part of such rituals. Every Supreme College has their own. Skull and Bones so happens to be Yale's. And they use this as a secret groups as a recruitment tool for governors, presidents, and more. Barbra knew just what she was getting herself into. Oh, come on, Mason. She could have been led astray. Just a blind girl. So let me get this straight. This woman's father is known as the most wickedest man in the world. She then marries into a family twice as evil as Hitler, and it's just a coincidence, right? Wrong, you silly human slave. You have been lied to, fed garbage to keep you company while they slowly kill you before you're smart enough to figure out you've been had. Yep, you breathe Satan's chemical air, you drank Satan's chemical water, and you certainly are eating his food. Why do you think cancer is 10 times as bad as the 1950s? We live in an era where the powers that be want to cut the life expectancy in half. But we'll save them topics for another video. Let's get back on topic. Crowley was obviously around before Photoshop, and this was a famous character. We can't write this off as being Photoshop. That would be absurd. So what is the deal? And is there any real facts behind this? For this information, we don't have to dig too deep to find out about this family. And the Truther Files got your back, so just sit back and relax.
By 1924, Crowley was living in poverty in France. An old friend and famous literary figure and occultist, Frank Harris, kindly took him under his roof. Frank Harris lived with a woman by the name of Nellie O'Hara. If what has been written in later years can be believed, Nellie had a friend in America, Pauline Pierce, who was married to Marvin Pierce, head of the McCall Corporation. In early 1924, Pauline traveled to France to stay with her friend. Thus it was that 4 individuals came together: Frank Harris, Nellie O'Hara, Pauline Pierce, and Aleister Crowley. According to Crowley's diaries, during this period in Paris, Crowley underwent the supreme ordeal, linked with his realization of the grade of ipsissimus. According to a description of the rite, on the appointed day, the candidate is attended by one or more chosen and experienced attendants whose duty is A. to exhaust him sexually by every known means, B. to rouse him sexually by every known means. Every device and artifice of the courtesan is to be employed, and every stimulant known to the physician. If Crowley did go through this ordeal in 1924, then it is highly likely, based on his previous experiences, that his closest associates of that time, including Nellie and Pauline, performed as his magical assistants. Pauline Pierce returned to America in early October of 1924. 8 months later, on June the 8th, 1925, she gave birth to a girl named Barbra. Barbra Pierce married George H.W. Bush, who eventually became the 41st President of the United States, and they had a son, George W. Bush, the 43rd President of the United States. Could the wickedest man in the world, Aleister Crowley, be George W. Bush's grandfather?
Pretty alarming, right? So I guess Mr. Satan is in fact Barbara's father. Or maybe it's the Quaker Oats guy. I'm not too sure yet, but there is definitely a connection there as well. So stay tuned. All jokes aside, it is hard to picture a sweet old lady dying and burning in an eternal hell, right? But deep in my heart, I have a great feeling that the Barbara Bush is going to be joining her father, and her husband will definitely be joining the two soon enough. But let me remind you, the party in hell has been canceled due to the fire.